Good day, everyone. It is the Converse and Connect session. I have a wonderful guest today, Jamila, and she's part of our team, and we're getting to know each other. She's doing the Mindfulness Teacher Training Program at the moment, which is a program that I run to train facilitators to become mindfulness practitioners and teachers. And it's a 14-week journey. And we're now in week 6 or week 7. And I was just super impressed with Jamila. And she's got the most incredible story. And because this is a Converse Connect session, we are talking, converse, we are connecting. Storytelling is immensely powerful when it comes to learning about resilience, learning about mental health, understanding our mental illnesses. And one of the things, recently I ran a program for men, and it was around why men are suffering from depression more actually than women, which is quite interesting according to statistics. And generally it's because men speak less than women about what's going on, emotional turmoil, problems in life. Men kind of keep it bottled up inside, and I'm a big talker. My job is to talk. I talk to everybody. I tell everybody how I'm feeling, and it's healing. Dr. Gabor Mate, who's a wonderful author, and I know Jamila, I think you've also read some of his work, says that if we bottle up our emotions, we don't talk about what's going on in our lives, if we sort of build walls and we're not so vulnerable, those emotions get stuck inside of us and turn into illness, whether it's you got flu regularly, whether you have pain in your body, or what can happen is more serious illness, and it translates into terminal illness or illnesses like depression. And I saw it with my own father growing up, a very beautiful, wonderful person, very kind person, but wasn't able to explain his depression. And that turned into a struggle with depression and schizophrenia. So it's really, really just important to talk, to join these sessions. I see where the numbers are climbing. Welcome, everyone. You've come off your busy meetings. Hopefully you all feeling energized and fresh today. Tomorrow is Friday, was a Friday, and looking forward to the weekend. And I don't know about you, Jamila, but I find that after a short week, the week after normally feels very long. Does it feel like it for you, or is it just me?
I think it's just you, Mark. I don't know, but I just feel like there's not enough time anymore. The weeks are just going by so quickly. I mean, look at it. We almost now, we are gone halfway through the year, and I don't know where the time's gone by. And I don't know whether it's just that I'm too full each day, but I'm grateful for that as well. I'm grateful that I'm living each day to the fullest that I can. But yeah, certainly time just doesn't seem to be enough at all.
Absolutely. So we keep ourselves very, very busy, but it's also really important, as Jamila's been learning, to take a pause and just to somehow, come to a stop. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do a little something right now. If you guys have got a pen nearby, you can join me in this little exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm just putting a pause button on my thumb. You see there? Pause button. And I've got a permanent marker, so I'm hoping it's going to stay on as long as possible, unless I wash my hands too much today. And every time I look at this little pause button on my thumb, I can push it. Yeah, I can just push pause like your remote control and take a breath and center and ground ourselves. So maybe let's do that now. Let's take a moment to pause, a mindful moment where we can regulate ourselves. if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you're very anxious, maybe you're multitasking, maybe you're still listening to the session and you're sending emails, maybe just stop for a moment, give yourself permission to be here right now. And the more that we practice presence, the more that we practice conscious awareness, the more that we will practice presence and conscious awareness, because what you practice grows stronger. Sitting comfortably in your chair, how about we just take 3 settling deep breaths? All right. Let's breathe in through the nose, nice and calm, with a smile. Slowly exhaling it out the nostrils with control. Settling your nervous system. Another deep breath in through the nose. Deep breaths are actual real love notes to your nervous system, saying, I'm okay in this moment. I'm breathing, slowly exhaling out the nostrils if you can. And last big breath in. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Opening your mouth, breathe it out, sigh the breath out. It's a new life for me, yeah. And I'm feeling good. Doom, doo-dum, doo-dum. You know the song? So the other day, I think it was Monday, I was sitting having a coffee with Jamila at the Saxon Hotel. Wasn't that a lovely spot to have a coffee at? And we were just chatting about Jamila's life and her experiences. And she is an incredibly remarkable. Thanks, Michelle. Glad you needed that. I needed it too. And just really, Jamila is a professional business woman. She is self-made. She is working on many, many interesting and fascinating projects. She is a life coach. Jamila, I've heard that your life, my alarm tune. Oh wow, Ismay, how about that? It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Is your ringtone on your alarm? Mine just goes beep beep beep, which isn't great. I'm going to change that. Thank you. You've inspired me. So Jamila is a life coach. She's working in the corporate field, and in terms of your training, you do one-on-one sessions, you do group sessions. Tell us a little bit about your work, Jamila.
So I'm an NLP practitioner and a coach, a life coach. We do theta healing as well, and I do see a lot of one-on-one clients. And I don't know how come, but there's a lot of women who have gravitated towards me, women who have had similar life experiences as I have had in my past, but also a lot of women who are trying to juggle, being a single mom and also having a career that they need to excel at and, make sure that they show up for and be successful at. So, I see a lot of people like that. And then we also do business coaching, and just trying to help individuals understand that, you aren't just this professional person who just has a career. You are multifaceted. You have so many other things in your life that need to be managed well. And it's so important to create that balance between your home and work life so that you show up to the best of your ability on both fronts. Sorry, Mark.
I was muted. Sorry. Muted. That's a big job. That's a really big job. And have you seen your clients develop and flourish through the work that you've done?
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen them, really just take a step back and understand their humanness, understand their insecurities, incapabilities, and just be aware of it, sit with it, and not beat themselves up about it so much. And by doing that, it allows you to manage it a lot better. A lot of us feel that we've got to come out as this perfect person, show up as this perfect person. But none of us are perfect. And it's okay to understand that. It's okay to accept that and then work towards how you can, one step at a time, learn to manage and be more effective in whichever way that you're showing up with, be it professionally, personally, and the one really does affect the other.
That's so true. One skill and superpower that I've noticed about you is your ability to be honest and vulnerable in an extremely eloquent way. Lizelle has had some bad experience by telling people what's going on and being judged for that, and those things are used against her. So the trust walls are very, very high. So I often talk about the power of vulnerability and obviously, but I suppose it's also important to know who to be vulnerable with and who to trust. And a lot of people can abuse that. Have you had that experience?
Oh, yes, I've had that experience. But I think I must just firstly point out that it's so important for you to be vulnerable towards yourself first and foremost. Coming into a new work environment, I felt I had to prove myself, and I couldn't show up as anything but able and ready to take on whatever it was. And sometimes it's just impossible to do that. And I think I needed to be vulnerable with myself. And being vulnerable with yourself allows you to know where your boundaries lie, where your capabilities lie, what you can and cannot do, and then work towards that, to improving that step by step. But valid point, you have to be so careful of who is around you, who has good intentions, within your space for you. And I think that what's very, very important is to actually just take notice of what your gut tells you, when you're around people. You have a certain intuition about you. Go with it, trust it. And that will then point you in the right direction of who it is that you can trust, who it is that you can't, and who you can open up to. But once you're in the space of, accepting who you are and what your challenges are, it allows you also to just attract the right people into your space. So be open to it, be open to being vulnerable, but also just lead with caution as well.
I love that. Jamila, so I'm just popping some key points in the chat for everybody that's on the call, so that and friends, please, if there's anything that stands out for you as to this conversation, share it with us in the chat. Your little key takeaway as we navigate our way through this story, a very powerful story. Jamila, you say that you came into the corporate world. Tell us about how you started your corporate career, and then obviously fast-tracked quite successfully to where you are now.
Okay, so I was in a 10-year marriage, and it was a very restrictive marriage. I was not allowed to work. I was not allowed to study. It was quite an orthodox environment that I was living in. And, your typical role for a woman was to be at home, cook, clean, make sure that you took care of everybody else except yourself, And at some point, 10 years later, I realized that the 10 years went by so quickly, and I didn't want to waste any more time. And I didn't want to be this woman that my son would one day see and have to say, okay, I can't look up to this person, as a mother figure. And also for myself, I think I needed to do this. So I decided that it was time for me to go, for us to go our separate ways, which I did. I left my marriage with my son, and started off with quite a low-paying job, but after a year, I moved to Johannesburg. Sorry, Mark.
How long ago was that, Jamila?
Sure, that was in 2005.
Okay. So you'd never really worked before. You were in a marriage. You were not allowed to develop and grow. You were in a traditional role of just being a housewife, and any self-development was discouraged.
Totally, absolutely discouraged. I mean, it was surprising if you would bring it up. So in any event, I managed to move. I got a job as an assistant admin clerk. For me, that was the first time I felt so empowered. Didn't matter what the position was, but the fact is that I was working and earning, and I was able to take care of myself and my son. And that then pushed me forward to want more. It encouraged me, and I felt like such ambition and drive to want to accomplish more, not just for myself, but for my son. And I applied for a job at the SABC in Johannesburg, which I did get, and packed up my bags and moved with my son to the city of gold. I knew nobody here, and I started working in amazing opportunity for me, but it was a very, very toxic environment at the same time. And coming to a new city where I didn't know anyone, no support structure whatsoever, with a young child, who was 6 at the time, it was very, very difficult to handle being a single mom and also trying to build a career for myself. So it took a lot. It took a lot out of me, but I realized at some point that I had to work on myself. I had to be the best Jamila that I could be, so that I could be a good role model for my son.
Amazing. Amazing, Jamila. So, I mean, you threw yourself out into the big wide open. You moved out of that comfort zone that was literally squeezing the life out of you. You wanted to set a good example for your son, that this is not how women should be treated, right? And that is extremely empowering. I mean, to break free from a traditional mold is probably one of the hardest things that we've ever done. I don't know if anybody on the call has also had to do something similar to what Jamila has done. You sort of find yourself in a very stuck place, and it took so much resilience to decide, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And we'd love to hear your comments and your stories around that. And Jamila, I think it's such a difficult time. Did you not feel depressed? Did you not feel that some days maybe you just could not get out of bed and carry on with the weight of finances, of the weight of caring for your boy, and being a single mom, being the mom and dad? I don't know. I mean, what got you out of bed in the morning? It's just so Nelly, you said your son was he 6 when you left?
No, I'm actually asking Jamila, how old was your son when you left?
My son was 6 when I left.
Sure. Very proud of what you did, though. Hey, I'm just starting from nothing. It's just, I mean, your bravery to just to get a job, bringing you confidence, and look where you are today. I mean, it's just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So proud of you.
Thanks.
That's what a lot of women should be doing. Hey, I applaud you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it.
Really impressive. Very impressive.
There's a lot of women that are going through this even now as we speak. I must say that a lot of people have become much more open-minded, and they encourage the girls to study and to travel, and encourage a career and profession for themselves. But there's so many that are stuck in these unhappy marriages, abusive marriages. And for me, I think when I followed this life coaching journey, for me, I felt if I at least am there for one woman, you know, one woman who has an ear, to, you know, for somebody to listen to them, just to bounce off their thoughts and their feelings about what it is that they are going through, and to let them know that, you know what, you're not crazy for choosing yourself. You're not selfish for choosing yourself, for wanting a better life for you. If I was able to just help one woman do that, then I feel like, you know what, I've been successful. And there's so many of us that go through and are in the corporate environment that are battling with so much on the personal front. But we hide it, we mask it, and we show up every day as these other people who seem to have, you know, your life set out and you've got everything under control. But it's so important for us to show up as just being vulnerable sometimes, because you never know who's living the same life as you, who's got the same challenges as you. And it's always so much easier for you to go through life when you realize that you can, a problem shared is a problem solved, right? And I think just as we as women should be there to help and promote and support each other and guide each other through this.
Jamila, there's an interesting question on the chat. And as a man, I find myself also subject to my own traditional roles. You know, I grew up in a Middle Eastern home with certain traditional roles that I still carry through today. And, you know, having to be the provider, the man of the house, to show bravery, to not cry, to not upset others. And Ishmael's got a really interesting question. Was there any way that you could help your ex to show more empathy? Was there any way, or was he very stuck in his role, which is also quite sad for him, right?
Absolutely sad for him. You know, the thing is that this is what he was accustomed to. This is how he grew up, the environment that he grew up in, you know. So as much as I tried to speak and tried to show him that he could have had more empathy, there's only a certain limit that he was able to reach. And, you know, this is not, and that's the reason why I felt it's so important for me to move along, so that I didn't allow my son to repeat these patterns and behaviors. So if I was able to take him out of that environment and show him and teach him that this is how you live, these are the ways in which you develop relationships, this is how you should offer respect to women, this is how, you know, you should offer respect to yourself. And as a man, I feel that it's so important for you to respect yourself enough to be able to respect the woman next to you, or women in general, or the women that you are working with. So, you know, as much as it was a terrible experience for me, I can understand from my ex-husband's point of view that he has his own limitations, because this is all that he knew, this is all that he saw growing up. So it's years and years of conditioning for him, which is difficult for someone else to change. This is a path that you have to follow on your own. You've got to make that choice and take the responsibility for yourself to want to change and be better.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. That's really powerful. And thank you, Ishmael, for bringing that into. I mean, yeah. So Zanele is saying, how has this experience shaped how you feel about men?
Well, Zanele, you know, when I got to Johannesburg, my focus was literally just on my career and my child, because I had no means of financial support from anybody else but myself. So I had to build my career so that I could give my son the life that, you know, I dreamt that I would one day give him. And that's literally all I did. I just worked and I came home to take care of him, and that was my life. And it worked up until a certain point, right? Because you have to, like I said, have a balance in your life. And I'm currently in a relationship now, which is the most amazing experience that I've ever had, because I'm with someone who is totally in tune with his growth, his self-development, and it's just a fantastic, amazing experience for me. So I'm not closed off anymore like I was before, and I realized that what we all come with our own strengths and weaknesses and all the rest of it, and we shouldn't judge one over the other. So I'm open. I'm allowing myself to experience happiness. Wow. And I'm choosing that over being stuck in fear and living out of fear. And I choose joy over everything else in every aspect of my life. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Ishmael had his hand up. Did you want to ask a question or make a comment, Ishmael?
Yeah, no, I just wanted, Mark, thank you, Jamila, thank you very much. And I understand the journey that you've been through, because I know exactly the situation where you have men that think that they are the only sole provider of a household. And I'm going to be open with you, and the team will be a bit surprised, but I was in that journey as well. And then I realized as we progress in our marriage that there was something that I was not doing correct as the man of the house. And then one day my wife came to me and she said, "Look, I want to go and do a venture." And I supported initially. I felt, but why? Then she said, "No, but I want to do it for my own self, not for bringing in income into the home, but I just want to do it for myself so that I can also uh, be a person that can actually grow out in as an individual and be there out in society." And that's how we started. So I actually supported her in that particular journey. And when she needed to make that initial payments for the purchasing or whatever she needed, I was the one that gave her the necessary capital to say, yeah, make the payment. And once you get the necessary payments from your respective suppliers, you can then refund me. And that's how she started. It's not a multi-millionaire business. It's a small business that she started. But the enjoyment that she has, the friendship that she's created, the network that she's created is because we collectively, but it was her drive to open up new avenues for herself. And trust me, that actually has improved my relationship, and it's actually has improved the way I see women in a larger space. And by the way, I'm married now for almost 30 years. So yes, I was I was that kind of man that said, no, women need to be in a particular spacing. But I learned from my mistakes, and I'm sharing this with the larger team. And I think I'm surprised I'm man enough to speak about it nowadays, whereas previously I was not allowed as a man to speak about it. You generally only hear women speak about it, but I am lifting my hands to say I was one of them, and I've learned from my mistakes. Jamila, that was the reason I asked that question. Could he not do something differently for you to be in a much better space? Sorry, Mark, I've taken your time, Jamila, but I just wanted to share this with you. I have an improved road. Initially, that road was very rough. Now I've got a paved road where my wife and I travel on. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Ishmael, I've got tears in my eyes, actually. I'm celebrating what you said, because yes, we're hearing from a beautiful woman's story and also a beautiful man's story about the flip side of that, about how men can self-improve and give your wife wings. And that's such a beautiful thing. Jamila, what did you think of Ishmael's comments?
Ishmael, thank you so much for sharing that. I've got tears in my eyes as well. That was so powerful. And I'm sure you've realized that once you've allowed her to do this, you didn't lose any control over her. You allowed her to flourish, and as a result, your relationship became better. And I think that if we see marriage as a partnership rather than, I'm here to tell you what you need to do and I've got to control everything because you're so fearful, I think, which is what my ex-husband probably thought, is that if I allow her a little bit of freedom, I'm allowing her to take control over me, which is not what I want. And that defeats the whole purpose of a union, of a marriage, of a partnership. So I'm so proud of you for allowing her to do that and for allowing yourself to give her that opportunity. And you married 30 years. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. And you know what? With that attitude, I can only see your relationship getting better and better as you go. And I think what's important also is for us to understand is that we're not static, as human beings. We are constantly changing and learning, and we should be open to that process. And if you're in a marriage or a relationship, be open to that process of learning together, allowing each one to grow separately, and then that makes that union of yours even more beautiful. Because I can't imagine being in a better relationship than where my partner is the best that he can possibly be, and for him to want that for me. So well done, Ismail.
Yeah. So I'm going to put my email address in the chat. Please send me your details. I'd love to reach out to you. I would love to host you if you are brave enough. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm just putting my email. If you want to contact me, please do. But I would love to bring you onto one of these sessions to tell us your story. There's another hand up. We're getting a lot of traction here today, Jamila. Siliziwe, sorry. Would you like to come in?
Yes,
how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Now, I just wanted to add just a little bit on what has been shared, is that I think for me as well, what's important is that we do not compete in marriages. So we should really entirely support in each other. And I think this 50-50 thing is one thing as well that does not help our marriages, because I think for me, it's going 100%, both of us. So if we allow us to be ourselves in marriages and allow the other individual as well to be themselves, then we won't get so much of these fears and also controlling. We want to control because we are competing. We're not fully supporting. We are just looking at other person. What is the person bringing into, instead of focusing on myself bringing 100% into this, and then the next person as well giving their own 100% into what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Siliziwe. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing that. Jamila, that's just such power words right there.
Totally, and that's so important. It's like you say, each one needs to give 100% totally of yourself. And in turn, you've got to support each other 100%. So I think that's really very, very important. And also, I think, you know what, you don't have to be with each other and have the same interests, and you don't have to be with each other 100% of the time. If my partner loves paddle, for example, and I don't, allow him to experience that, allow him to enjoy it, allow him to excel at it, and be there to support him with that. Likewise, whatever it is that I might enjoy, support me in that. And I think just by doing that, that alone strengthens your relationship. Even though you don't enjoy the same things, it doesn't mean that you don't support one another through it. So, Siliziwe, I really, really do agree with you totally on that. We've all got to just give our full and 100%.
And Siti, hi, would you like to come on in?
Yeah, I think I'm coming in from a very different angle. So I'm coming in as the child that grew up in a home where mom was the housewife, dad was the breadwinner. And, being a young girl, watching my mom being abused and not standing up for herself. And I couldn't quite understand that. And I myself, got married at a very late age in my life, totally of that fear of once you get married, it's an Indian thing. You become the housewife, you owned by your in-laws. It's just not a nice environment. So very fearful of that. And also looking at how limited mom was in terms of voicing her opinion. And I only got married after my dad passed away, by the way. So when my dad passed away, my mom became a different person. She stopped wearing the sari. She started wearing what she wanted to wear. She just became braver, and there was a different side of her that we've never seen before. And it really just inspired me and I got into your conversations years later with her to say, why did you stick it out? And she said, I stuck it out because I had 7 children. I had 7 children with this man, and I had to stick it out for you guys. And I wanted you guys just to have the best, because there was times when I used to run away, live with families, and see how they ill-treated you guys when you were little, and I didn't want that. So I rather stayed with the man that I married and let him carry on the way he did. And I waited for an opportunity, which is sad because practically her whole life was lost. But the sacrifice that a woman makes for their children is something that we as children just think because I remember thinking, Mom, you don't have a voice. You didn't do these things. If you stood up earlier on, I wouldn't have been like this. This wouldn't have happened. That would, but when you hear her side of the story and you hear how much she has sacrificed just for her children, it's really amazing. So very proud that you've taken that step to, leave. But I think a lot of other women out there, like my mom, don't have that opportunity. They get married at the age of 16, no education, haven't, they don't have that, nowadays, yes, we're fortunate, we do. But I think coming from those years, there wasn't that. So, it's so nice to see that our women are now being empowered, that our women are taking a stand, and, we have an opportunity to be proud of them for this. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thank you, Sati. Thank you so much. And lots and lots of love to your angelic mom. I hope that she's well and that she's still happy, and she's, finding her rhythm, finding herself through the process. But I mean, the sacrifice that goes into keeping the home happy for the kids, I mean, that's also quite something, Jamila.
No, it is. It's and it's such a difficult experience to go through. As Indian women, we brought up to believe that we have to say yes to absolutely everyone, and we have to please everyone before you can even think about yourself. And as moms, your children are the most important thing for you, and it's difficult living in the community that we are brought up with, because there's certain expectations that that you've got to meet. And Siti, I can understand why your mom would have wanted to stay for you guys, because there are lots of stigmas attached. And I remember when I said to my sister that, I'm leaving, I'm out of this marriage. The reason why it took me 10 years because I knew that I didn't want to leave and go back home. I had to leave, and I had to have a profession, and I had to be able to support myself and my son, because I know how women who leave are treated. You absolutely have no rights, literally, whatsoever. And I didn't want to trade one prison for another. So I understand totally where your mother was coming from and her protection for you guys. And the community can be quite unforgiving. I remember my sister, when she heard that I wanted to leave, she said to me, at the age, I was 31 at the time, and she said to me, your life is over, you've got to live with your son, for your son. So it literally meant that you have no importance, you have no right to have a life, you have no right to be ambitious and want a better life for yourself. And because I stuck with it and I stayed with my decision and I left, I was totally shunned from the community, shunned from my family. They didn't speak to me for well over 2 years. And, you know, it's been a difficult process now, over like about 20 years later, still trying to rebuild those relationships. So totally understand and have such great admiration for the strength of women like your mother, you know, who stayed in it, because it's not easy. It's not easy, you know, accepting and living with abuse, and trying to hide that, you know, in order to protect your children, in order to protect your husband, the husband's family, and all the rest of it. So, you know, I just have such great admiration for women who are still in it. And that's what I hope to be able to give to them, is to be able to give them an outlet, even just to talk about it. Because even if you share it with one person, that gives you such great comfort as well, to know that, you know what, I'm not losing my mind here. I'm not being unreasonable. I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, you know, and it's normal and natural for me to feel that way. And it's an injustice that I'm experiencing, but unfortunately, this is where my path is right now. And, you know, it just gives me such great joy to hear that your mom is living her life now.
Yeah, magic. And Jamila, Siti, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, she's now traveled all around the world. She's been to 25 different places around the world. She just loves her life. And she just recently came back from Turkey as well. But mommy's become so confident that, you know, she inspires us. And we 5 girls and 2 boys. We lost my brother a while ago, so there's just the one boy. But with all the adversities that she had to face, she still smiles, she still laughs, she still inspires all of us to do better. So yeah, no, mommy's living her best life. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Glad to hear it. Lots of love to your mom. Jamila, coming into the corporate world, from being a housemaker, did you just fly? Was it easy? You know, I know you worked for a major media company, a major service provider in our country. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Was not easy at all, Mark. Great difficulty. I had to put up this pretense that, you know, I was meant to be there in the corporate world, and, you know, this was my space and my domain. But, you know, I was like a fish out of water. You know, after 10 years of being in an environment where women are seen and not heard, you know, where you've got to suppress your everything about yourself, you know, you're not allowed to have any opinions, and you just, like I said, just be seen and not heard, to being in an environment now where it's you conversing with men. You know, these are your colleagues, these are the people that you work with every day, with men as your bosses. So it took quite some time for me to acclimatize to that. And also, just, I think, by me allowing myself to be a little bit vulnerable and share my story, it proved to be one of the best things that I could have done for myself, because I shared my experience, which, you know what, I would normally hide in front of anyone else, but I shared it with a client of mine. And as a result, he was, you know, so taken by my story, he offered me a job. And I said yes, of course, immediately. And that just grew me from strength to strength to strength, because he encouraged me and allowed me to develop. And he actually told me how important it was for me to, you know, have self-love, self-awareness, self-development. And this allowed me then to become a lot more confident in the way that I, you know, in my interactions with males within the industry. And I know that a lot of you might not be able to relate to this, but for the ones that do, this was a difficult step for me. And you have to understand that I came from an environment where I was totally covered. You men ate separately from the women. Like I said, you were not allowed to express any opinions. I remember for the 10 years, I wasn't allowed to even go to a library. I wasn't allowed to go to a gym. And then towards the end of that, I would take my son to school, and I deliberately took him to a school that was quite far from my home. And while he was at school, I would go to the library, and it was like my happiest times because I could read and I could get onto the internet. I didn't know how to use a computer, so I tried and self-taught, and in that time I went on a basic computer course. But in any event, just to have that self-development and to have somebody believe in you was absolutely incredible for you to succeed and to move on.
Wow, fantastic. So it seems as though you've had that beautiful support totally from another angle, and nurturing and kind and unconditional, and then working in a corporate environment. Did you find other people were vulnerable, that they were sharing their stories, that it was a happy space in that media company?
Unfortunately, no. It was a very toxic environment. Nobody allowed themselves to feel vulnerable. It was a dog-eat-dog kind of environment. Maybe, people, there was a support structure in terms of HR where you could go to a counselor or whatever, but nobody trusted to go to it. Because they didn't know whether it, it was totally confidential or not, or whatever the case may be, but which is really so sad. It's really very sad. But we should have that where we, in the corporate space, where there's a safe space that we can go to, where we can talk about our challenges, how we are feeling, because it's so important for us just to be able to do this. Mark, we have those once a week check-ins, with the teacher training. And I can't tell you, how much I look forward to it. Not that I don't do it on my own, because I do, but it's wonderful to be able to do it in a shared safe space with other colleagues. And to hear their stories and to be able to draw on their strengths and to be able to offer assistance, where they find themselves being challenged. So it's very sad that, we have this toxicity in the corporate world where it doesn't have to be that kind of a situation, and it's not about competition here. It's all about us collectively progressing, improving, and being successful. And if we allowed ourselves just to be vulnerable, we can help each other so much to progress forward.
Yeah. I mean, Esme is saying, I wish I knew what I know now. We as women hold on. We don't want to feel like a failure. We try to be strong, work this out on our own. Unfortunately, don't want people to know that we're experiencing challenges. Wow. And it really also talks to men as well. I find in the corporate culture that very hard for men to reach out, to ask for help, to talk to the EAP service provider, to maybe the Scrum Master or the leader, because we don't want to be seen as weak, as crumbling, as failing. But there comes a time in everyone's life where it happens, and it's normal. It's the same as getting the flu or hurting your calf muscle playing paddle or whatever. We have ups and downs, and I don't know. I mean, I hope people within the organization at APSA feel that it's okay to ask for help, and it's to realize that that's not giving up; it's refusing to give up. And there's some sort of bravery in explaining your situation, in explaining your anxieties, your fears, your angers, perhaps. And I really, these sessions are so powerful, and the people that join these sessions are so powerful because from this place, it will spread out like a ripple within the organization. So look, the entire organization is not here today. Sure, thank goodness. That would be a lot of people. But I do believe that there's a core element for the people that have logged on, taking these messages to heart, coming back into their works, answering their emails, jumping into a Teams meeting. But there's something that they're going to take from this session that can promote change in a larger, it's just little bits here and there, but we all kind of weaving our light through the organization in our own special way and sharing the message. And I think that's really why we run these sessions, why we have these conversations, to make people feel that it's okay to have those conversations and to share your story.
Yeah, and I think, don't be fearful of going to the next person. You might have a preconceived idea of what they might be like or what their personalities are like. But, what I do is when I feel that way, I kind of just imagine this light around them. In the past, I wouldn't go up to someone. I just wouldn't do it and try and strike up a relationship. And I think that's so important in the corporate environment, because we go there and we're so focused on just doing our job and not detracting from that. You come to work every day, you clock in, you do your work to the best of your ability, and you leave. But it's so important to have good friends at work, as well. People that you can have a conversation with during the day. And I closed myself off to that. And now what I do is I just see someone, and if I feel a little bit intimidated about going up to them or talking to them, I picture this warm golden light around them, and that allows me just to be open to go and approach someone. And 9 out of 10 times, they're absolutely the total opposite to what I thought that they would be like. And it's worked out so beautifully. And a lot of these people are today my friends, over the years that have gone by. So allow yourself also just to be vulnerable in that way, and also just to reach out.
That's amazing. So special. Tanya has a request. That's if you're comfortable with that. And I just love that. There's a little mindfulness exercise right there, is imagining a warm golden light surrounding people that make you, that you might be a bit apprehensive of or a bit fearful of. I love that. I love that as a practice. I use a mantra. And the mantra is, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you live in peace. And I kind of, with everybody that I meet, no matter if they are people that really enjoy their company or people that I really don't enjoy their company, I encourage those words to continue in my mind, and I repeat them again and again. And I'm going to add the color. I'm going to add the lights. I'm going to surround them with light. We're sounding very hippie here, but everything is in the mind, right? Everything is in the mind. And if we can use techniques like this to regulate our well-being and our nervous system and help us to converse and connect with others, then why not? Then why not? Are there any other sort of mind tricks or yeah?
Before we go on, I think Lizelle had a question. I'm just trying to find it. But she did ask me whether I had studied after I had left.
So, yes, she did.
Yes, I did. I did absolutely. I've studied a lot, whatever I can get my hands on and whatever courses I can do, I did it. But initially, you asked me how did I juggle with everything without support. It was very difficult. It was so difficult leaving a 6-year-old alone with a babysitter, which I'd never ever done before. My son and I were together 24/7, so it was very difficult for him to adjust when we first got to Johannesburg, and he acted out in a lot of ways, didn't want to go to school, cried every morning, and that, would just stress me out so much. But it came to a point where I realized that, what, I had to do these things, not just for my own benefit, but for his as well. And if I was totally empowered, educated, and happy as a person, he would feel that. And I feel like I owed him that as a mother. I owed him a mother who was whole, a mother who was a strong woman, a mother who, you know, who did the best that she could do for herself. So I had to push the guilt aside, you know, for the time that I was away from him. And yes, I took it on. Whatever I could study, I did study. Yeah, today, you know what, I reap the benefits of it because we have wonderful conversations. My son is 24 now, and, you know, I think, you know, for me, the success of the journey that we've been on is when I've heard him say, "Mom, I'm so proud of you." It's a difficult journey with a lot of challenges, with a lot of hurdles that you have to overcome. But, you know, if you keep your eye on the prize and you have good intentions, there's no way that you can't succeed. And along the way, you attract the people that are meant to be around you, who will offer you the support. So even though I had no family support around me at the time, I don't have many, but I have genuine quality friends within my circle.
Magnificent. Thank you. Rosemary is saying, please share these sessions with your friends and your colleagues at work. It's up to you to bring awareness to your colleagues around these issues. Please share the link. Well done, Tasneem, for writing that email, putting yourself first, requesting, you know, self-care time. There's a mental health champion right there, you know. Esme, forgiveness of others, pushing away your guilt, taking the first step forward, so important. Clearing your mind, leaving your baggage behind, even journaling releases your own. And we've got one more minute left. Jamila, are you a journaler? Do you like to journal?
Oh, 100%. Listen, I've been journaling since my school days. And I've continued that. I actually kept journals even during my marriage too, and I wrote down absolutely everything so that one day I would have something to give. And, you know, I've gifted this to my son. Wow. So that he understands the journey that his mother went through to get us to the point. And, you know, he's embraced that. But just for myself, I journal every day. And it's the best thing. It's the best gift that I could give myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Jamila. Thank you, Lizelle. She has to log off. Amazing. Well done, Renelle. Friends, we've come to the end of our session, and it's just been such a pleasure to spend time with lovely Jamila, and who is doing remarkable things not only within Mindful Revolution, within APSA, but with her clients, her corporate clients, one-on-one clients, and of course she's changing the face of paddle in this country, 10 by 20. So well done to you and for Adrian, for all those, you know, keeping us mentally well, physically well, as well as mentally well. Jamila, is there any last thing that you would like to say as we log off?
It's been such an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark, for this opportunity. And it's just wonderful listening, reading all the comments from everyone. I just wish that, you know, these could continue and people could understand the benefit of just reaching out to one another and sharing your vulnerability. And that in itself will allow you to become more resilient going forward in your lives.
Yeah, and to all the people that Siliziwe and Sati and Ishmael for really, you know, joining in on the conversation and giving us a little bit of insight into your story. I'm really grateful for you. Ishmael, I'm going to bring you on. I know that I'm going to ask you, but really I'd love to hear from you more and your story so that we can hear from the men's side as well. Me being a man, I've got my stories too, but really lovely to hear your story today, Jamila. Thank you, Marissa. Beautiful. Friends, it's time to go and have a little mindful stretch, a mindful breath, maybe a little cup of tea, and give yourself a moment, a pause moment. There's my pause button to regroup and reconnect. and then reconnect in a beautiful way where we can converse with calm and happy vibes within our families, within the organizations, and as Jamila said, within ourselves. Thank you. Lots of love to all of you. Take care. Bye-bye.